They are halfway across the world. Laterno Engineering Global Solutions, or you can just call them LEGS.
Welcome to our world.
These Longview students are in Kijabe, Kenya, where their senior design project is about more than just a passing grade.
The challenge for it to be under $100 just seemed undoable, frankly, at the moment.
They've manufactured this prosthetic so amputees in Kijabe will do something they never thought possible: walk again. They have only 2 weeks to fit a group of amputees, mostly children.
Kristen's position is that we're doing this in an insanely fast manner, and I'm saying we got to get it done.
Kristen, Caleb, Eric, young June, David, and Dr. Gonzalez embarking on the leg of a journey to Africa, giving amputees a step of hope. Jambo, Karibu, Kijabe, Kenya. I'm Christine Nelson. In Swahili, that means hello and welcome to Kijabe, Kenya. It is where we are reporting from tonight. And for the next 30 minutes, you will hear how the lives of Kenyan amputees are being changed with the help of 5 East Texas students and their professor from Laterno University in Longview. They are applying their knowledge as engineer majors to help create low-cost prosthetics for amputees. How can the science of engineering actually create a prosthesis? We have to go back to the beginning of the project to understand. With the use of the next 2 hours in this GATE session, LEGS will obtain data that will show just how successful this groundbreaking project will be. Their test subject is 12-year-old Devante Cox.
I'm going to have you walk up and down a little bit. We're just going to do it while they're gone and collect a couple motion trials.
The goal here is this: design a prosthetic for amputees in developing nations who could not otherwise afford to buy what normally is a $20,000 to $30,000 prosthetic. The LEGS version, it will cost less than $100. At the lab, infrared cameras are in place to begin.
We're going to compare his current U.S. prosthetic with our prosthetic design, and it lets me look at the way he's walking, and I can compare the 3 scenarios, looking at his stride length, how quickly he's walking, his cadence.
Over and over again, their test subject Devante walks back and forth in the student-made prosthetic. The team looks on, observing his every step.
So we're going to measure how much oxygen your body's using, okay?
Okay, I'm going to put these on so I can measure your heart rate, okay?
It sounds like extra work for this soon-to-be teenager, but for Devante and his mother looking on, wearing a prosthetic has been a way of life.
This is our amputation, this was our surgery, this was our pain, this is our life, this is what we go through.
Devante was born without a tibia bone. His umbilical cord was wrapped around his foot, and his leg was amputated at only 10 months old.
Did a lot of praying, trusting what my surgeon was telling me. He asked me what I wanted, and I said I want to see him run one day, ride a bike, and play football, just like all the other little boys do. And he said, if you trust me, you're going to see that and so much more. I never thought me deciding to have the leg amputated, because I did have to make that decision, the hardest decision of my life, of course, but I never thought making that hard decision would turn out to be a blessing, you know? Maybe one day one of those kids and him could invent a leg that's going to be perfect for someone, you know? That's why we're blessed to have this opportunity, truly blessed. Somebody's going to be helped, you know? That's why we're doing it.
As a team, they started with just an idea and engineered it into this. In less than 3 weeks, more prayers will be answered when the leg of this African journey is complete. The next step for the LEGS team: bring their research, their materials, and their hope here to Kijabe. Being halfway across the world, this time the goal to fit and make these prosthetics and get these amputees walking must be accomplished. Coming up on A Step of Hope, amputees are a step closer to living a normal life. And one man who didn't think he'd live to see the day he'd walk again. That's next on A Step of Hope.
Nipe moyo safi Bwana, nipe moyo safi Bwana, niingie mbinguni.
The third one says, give me a clean heart so that I can get to heaven, to stay eternally with you.
The LEGS team begins each day with a morning devotional, setting the stage of what's to come here in Kijabe, Kenya. They are at Cure International's Bethany Crippled Children's Center, a hospital dedicated to treating crippled children. Immediately, the students begin teaching the hospital's prosthetics team how to make this one-of-a-kind leg.
They do want to learn. They're very excited about it. They're willing to listen to us and follow what we're saying, and then they also come up with very creative ideas.
And so before the little group came in, what we've been doing with children, we've been making for them prostheses without joints, because the joints are so expensive, and you need, if you buy, you spend around like, how many Kenya shillings? Around 45,000, 50,000 Kenya shillings.
That's the case for 10-year-old Timothy and Njuguna.
This is what his foot looked like before.
Amputated from what doctors believe was a snake bite, Timothy's family could only afford to get him this peg leg, as it's called, that doesn't bend at the knee. Timothy has to swing his leg around just to walk, and standing to his feet is quite a difficult task. But for many families here, the peg leg is the only way to keep their children from being ostracized from society because of their disability. Already, the laternal leg is bringing about change.
We're going to show him how you can kick.
Shannon Taves is in charge of physical therapy.
Amazing to see him just be able to kick with both legs, and it was really neat for me to see him sit with his legs dangling on his bed for the first time instead of with one leg just straight out. He had both legs just sitting there dangling, and the other patients in the ward were looking at him and just excited looks on their faces.
Those patients were these little girls, Doris Ranjiru, Magdalene Chepkenyor, and Rose Rufo. Doris goes through the same procedure as the other amputees. A plastic mold is put on her residual limb to measure for alignment. As she looks down, the thought of how she lost her leg will soon be a distant memory.
I got an accident.
Doris was hit by a car in a hit and run when she was 8. A Good Samaritan took her to the hospital. She was amputated that same day. Like Timothy, she too walked with a peg leg.
Wow. Holy cow! Good to go! All right.
Before long, Doris takes her first steps in the leg's prosthetic.
They just walked out of there. They didn't even give a second thought to their old leg. You know, it's like, it's gone. You know, they didn't even worry about it. It was just, you know, it was just really neat.
As Magdalene patiently waits her turn, the LEGS team knows her prosthetic will have to meet some special needs.
She doesn't have toes on her biological leg. When you have a prosthetic, you kind of need to push up with your toes to let the toe on your prosthetic clear the ground so you don't have to swing it out.
Born with a congenital disease, Magdalene has walked with a crutch all her life. Her right hand is deformed because for years it's the only limb she could use to help herself off the ground. For the first time, this 13-year-old is learning how to put one foot in front of the other.
It's that much closer to being able to function as more of a part of society and being able to have more fun as a kid.
But the team's next subject missed out on a normal childhood. When Kenneth Kiptanui was 3 years old, his infant body rolled into a fire. His left leg was amputated above the knee. For the next 18 years, Kenneth would use a stick that he would slide through his pant leg to get around. He would never have a prosthetic of his own until now.
He's never had anything on it and never had to bear weight on there, so it's going to be a little sore, at least for a little while.
As Kenneth continues his therapy, the LEGS team is under deadline to fit each patient, make their prosthetic, and have them walking all in a matter of days. But another subject would be added to their list, one whose story of survival is so amazing they couldn't turn him away. So the prosthetists here at the Bethany Crippled Children's Center have been given a stepping stone of sorts to help keep this groundbreaking project alive. What probably won't be in short supply is the amount of Kenyans in need of new legs. Next on A Step of Hope, Timothy reunites with his mother for the first time since getting a prosthetic, and behind the sights and sounds of this small African community, when A Step of Hope returns.